Hi crafters, welcome back and thanks for joining me today. This is Jonna with Purple Girl Crafts. Today we are going to make this fun fold card. This is a waterfall card. When you open it up, there is room to write a message. You can add some white paper in there. But then when you pull on this, you'll see it is a waterfall card. So I've added an extra top piece just to hide that it's a waterfall. This will lay flat for shipping. It does measure about 5 by 7. As you can see, it's not very thick. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we'll need is our scoreboard. And for our first piece, this is going to be cut at 10 by 6 3/4. We're going to turn that back on the 10-inch side, and we're going to score that at 5 inches. Next, we need 2 pieces, and these are going to be cut at 6.5 by 4 3/4. And these will be for the top of the card and the inside of the card. Then we need some patterned paper, so I'm going to do 1 piece at 4.5 by 6 1/4 in this flowered paper. And then I'm going to do a pink polka dot for the other, which is the same size, 4.5 by 6 1/4. And that will be for the inside of the card. Then we need 1 piece that is cut at 3 1/4 by 5, and then another piece that is 3 by 4 3/4. Then we will need 1 piece that is 11 by 2, and as you can see, I've already wrote a message on it, so I printed this out because I don't have a stamp that I wanted to use, and it's going to be about 1.5 inches from the bottom of the piece. So we're going to lay this down. You want your message to be on the right hand side, and we're going to score this. We're going to start at 6 inches, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, and 8.5. So that will be for the mechanism. Next, we will need 4 pieces, and these are 3-inch square. And these will be for the waterfall on the inside. And then we'll need 4 pieces, and these are 2 3/4 inches. And these are the drafts that I drew, and we're just going to put these facing in different directions on the waterfall. We will need a circle, and this is going to be 1 inch in diameter, and this is going to be to stamp slide here or one of your phrases so that recipient knows what to do with the card. So we're going to move our scoreboard out of the way. First thing we're going to do is we are going to fold our main piece. We're just going to fold that in half and then crease out that fold. Then for the 2 green pieces, one's going to be on the front of the card and one's going to go on the inside. And I'm going to put the flowered paper on the front, and then the polka dotted pink one will be on the inside. I'm going to use my double-sided tape, and I'm just going to quickly put tape on these, and I'm going to do this to all 4 of the pieces. And I'm just using the bone folder to make sure they're tight. So I'm going to peel these off. And this first piece that I'm doing is the flowered paper, so it'll be for the front of the card. And then we're just going to lay this down on top of that green piece, and then just pull off those tabs. Then we'll do the inside piece. So I'll flip that over, do the same thing with the pink, just pull those halfway off. So I'm going to turn the paper just to make it easier so I can see. And then I'm going to lay this down, making sure I've got that even border all the way around, and then pull off those tabs. Okay, so now the inside and the front of the card pieces are complete. So we'll put those on a little bit. Next, we're going to work on the mechanism piece. And we're just going to take this piece and we're going to score it on each of the score marks, or we're going to fold it on each of the score marks that we made. And make sure you really crease those out and make sure that they're lined up so that the waterfall will pull smoothly. And you want to make sure that the font is on the front side if you've stamped it. If you haven't stamped it, it doesn't matter. So as you can see, as you pull it, that will move. So that's the piece that you should have. Now for the edge of this, I want it to add just a little bit of color. So I'm going to grab my green ink, and I'm just going to put it around the sides. I'm only going to go from the last score line down to the bottom. And I'm just going to quickly just put just a little bit of ink just on the side of this, just to give it some dimension. This is such an old trick to do, but it really just adds a lot of character. And again, I'm only going to go up to that first score line. Okay, so that's enough. So as you can see, once we have that done, and you want to make sure that you let it dry, as you can see against the white paper, it really pops out, and you can see the edges. Now for the top of the waterfall, we're going to use this piece, and what it's going to do is going to hide that first. It's going to hide the waterfall. So I'm going to take, and we're going to put glue, or I'll use my tape again on here. And I'm just going to glue these down. Now you only want to do this to the layer. You don't want to do it to the mat because you don't want to secure it all the way down. For this one, I'm just going to pull these off. I'm pulling the bottom ones all the way off, and then the top ones just part way, or the sides just part way, just so I have something to hold on to. Okay, then I'll line this up and then just go ahead and place that down. Okay, so this is going to get glued to the top of the card, of the mechanism on that last fold line. And you want to be about 3/4 of an inch. You just want to make sure you're even on both sides. So that looks pretty good right about there. So when you're done, you can take a pencil, and I'm just going to put a light pencil mark just on both sides. And then I'm going to grab my glue, and we're just going to put glue on that first score line, or the first section. I'm going to turn this upside down, making sure the font is facing in, and I'm just going to glue that right to the edge and between those two pencil marks. And then each time you just want to refold this and then just crease out that fold. So as you can see, that's where it's going to slide. So you want to take the next piece. Now you could glue your top pieces on first, or you can do them after. I'm going to do it after. So I'm going to line up this next one, the first green pieces, and we're just going to line it up. And as you can see, we only have just a tiny bit clearance on each side. This way it'll stay inside and it'll still be hidden. So I'm just going to put glue on that next section. And you want to do this one section at a time so you don't get too much glue and it doesn't stick to it. So again, I'm going to line it up so it's at that edge of that white piece and between that, the first green piece. Then you want to flip it all the way up and again lay it down, crease out that fold, and you're going to continue gluing the next 3 of them just like that, and those 3 spaces you have left. So this time you want to line it up with the one you just did and up against that edge of that white strip. You want to give it just a little bit clearance so that it will fold. If you put it all the way up to the edge, it will get stuck, so make sure you just leave just a tiny bit of clearance. And then again, just lay it down, crease out that fold, and continue on the next one. And again, so I'm just making sure these are lined up with each other. So I'm lining up the edges with the previous piece and then lining the top up with the edge of the white. Again, with just a little bit of clearance, just so it has room to go. And this will be the last piece. And just like that. And now, as you can see, it's all glued together. So we do need one additional piece, and this piece is going to be 3 inches, or just under 3 inches, probably about 2 7/8 by an inch. And this is going to hold down the waterfall part. So I'm just going to put glue just on the bottom section. And then you're going to glue the tab just to the top of it, making sure that it's even on both sides, so that it doesn't stick out from the card. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to let that dry for a second. So we're going to work on the top. So we're going to put the flowered paper on the front of the card. And again, I'm just going to pull these tabs, flip it back over, line it up, making sure I have my border all the way around, and then just pushing that down. And then for the inside of the card, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put this piece on the inside. Now you could add another piece of white in here to write a message. You could add another character in here. You could decorate this any way that you choose. So I'm going to lay this open all the way, and then again, line up my piece, and then just secure that down. Let's move some of this out of the way. Okay, then just secure that. So that's for just the base piece of the card. Now for the waterfall, we're going to put this in the middle of the card, and you can put this just so it's not hanging over. The card measures 6 3/4, so you have about 1/4 of an inch that we're going to use our circle on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put tape, and I'm going to use the double-sided sticky tape. And I'm going to put this on just that flap, that white piece that we had just glued. This roll is so big, I'm just going to cut a piece off. It's too big to work with. I'm putting 2 pieces on each side. If you have the thicker tape, you can just use 1 piece. Okay, so you want to make sure that this, when it pulls, that you're not over the edge of the card. So I'm just going to line this up, making sure the card is going the right direction. So I'm going to line mine up so it's right at the edge of the card, because like I said, I have 1/4 of an inch that I can use, and that's where that circle is going to come into play. So the circle is going to stick out just a little bit, and it'll be my pull tab for the waterfall. I just want to make sure I stay within that 7 inches. Mine's just a little bit long, so I think I'm going to cut this off just a tiny bit. So I'm not even doing probably 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to cut just that little sliver off. Just so I have just a little bit more room for the circle, because again, I want to stay within that 7 inches. I'm going to grab my Distress ink again. I'm going to re-ink the bottom, since I had cut that piece off. And then we're also going to ink the circle, and I'm just going to use the same Distress ink. And this is pull here. And I'm just going to stamp it right in the middle of the circle. So that one I got just a little bit too thick, so I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to apply as much pressure this time. Put it right in the center. That looks better. So we'll use that one. We're going to use the other circle underneath because you're not going to see it. So this is going to get stuck together. And then it will be glued right in the center of this. So I'm going to put one on the top, one on the bottom, and then it'll be glued at the bottom together. And you just want to make sure that, again, that you don't go over your 7 inches. So I'm just going to put glue on just one circle. Okay, I'm going to make sure this is right in the center, and I'm going to line up that pull here with the end of the white piece. Just want to make sure it's even. I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to glue that other circle on top of that. And we're going to put glue entirely on this piece. And then just secure that down. That just gives it just a little bit of more weight for the circle to pull. Okay, that looks good. And I'm just making sure that glue is secure. Right, so this is the waterfall piece. So again, we're going to put this on the card. I'm going to line up the edge of the white with the edge of the colored paper. And I want to make sure that's pretty much in the even, and I want to make sure that it doesn't extend 7 inches. So I'm just kind of seeing where I want to go. And that looks good right about there. I'm just going to measure that. No, just barely under 7 inches. So I'm just lining this up. Again, just making sure that I am not over the 7-inch mark. If you wanted to make this smaller, you could make this card a little bit smaller, make your frame a little bit smaller. You could do 6.5 and just do your same measurements. All right, so I'm going to open this up. I know this is where it's going to stick. So I'm just kind of remembering where it's going to go on that, right next to that second line of flowers. And you could get out your tape measure and make sure that it's perfectly centered if you wanted. I'm going to close it, making sure that tape doesn't interfere with the pull part. And then again, I'm just going to lay this down, making sure that it's even on the card. That looks good right about there. And you can see as you pull, that's the effect you get. Okay, now for the inside decorations. We are going to glue the big giraffe on the front. He's got his little tongue sticking out. And then on the inside, I'm going to glue these. And I'm just going to do these in a clockwise direction. So I'm just going to glue all of these down. I've already put my double-sided tape on these. And for these, I'm just going to pull it all the way off. And then I'm just going to line these up. You can lay it flat. I'm doing it on that first flap. Just going to lay it down and then secure it. And then just keep going until I get all the way to the fourth giraffe panel. And you could have these all go in the same direction. You could have their eyes. That would have been cute if I made their eyes all different directions, like their eyes were rolling. Didn't think about that. And so the next one would go all the way upside down. So he'll be upside down. And you also could decorate the other side of the panel if you wanted. And then we'll do the last one on the bottom. Yep, Just making sure I'm still going the right direction. And we'll put that one there. And then again, this will be on the very front of the card. And I'm just going to make sure that he is just on the very edge. So I'm just going to use regular glue on this. I'm not going to do any dimensions. I don't want the card to be any thicker than it already is. And then just take your bone folder, just make sure everything is secure. So that's the card so far that we've made. This way it's a waterfall card, but it doesn't look like a waterfall card. So just another variation of the waterfall card. All right, so next we're going to just put just a few embellishments on the front, and I'm just covering up some of the dots on the dotted paper. And that looks good right about there. So that is the card that we made today. I want to thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. I have fun crafting along with you. Until next time, happy crafting, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye.